Hello, I am Avanel, and so this is just for fun while I talk about stuff. It's a mirror box I built, I don't know, forever ago. But I'm autistic, I have ADHD, I know I've mentioned it many, many times, and there's other stuff that's, unique about me that probably doesn't fall into a diagnostic bracket of any kind. But I was just wanting to talk a little bit about the process for me of unmasking. And I say for me because I'm not some kind of like specialist on autism or people with ADHD or anything. And I don't know what things that I deal with or which thing. And, I don't know. I just know me. I am the authority on me. And it took a while for me to be able to feel like it was okay for me to say that because when you go through life with struggles that especially like for me like I was late diagnosis and stuff like just unclear what the source of the things were and kind of learn to trust other people's opinion of you more than your own opinion of you, and like that kind of thing, and you tell them things and they dismiss it and you go, I guess it's not important, instead of going, no wait, it really is important to me, this is a problem for me. But anyway, so I think that for me, also because I'm late diagnosis, there was a time where when I started realizing what was kind of going on, especially because like the way that autism presents in women is a little different, and we're finding that out later, and the research is new, and so it just was a lot longer before I started to suspect that's what was going on at all, and then I started to like go through this period of time of like reflecting on all kinds of things in my life and going, oh my gosh, yeah, that's totally a thing. And I didn't even think, so many things I dismissed about myself. And anyway, all that aside, it was really the unmasking stuff that was the most important for me because the unmasking is kind of what made me be able to be my own friend through all of this, right? Because one of the painful things about unmasking is when you start actually doing the things that as somebody once, there's one article I read at one point and I liked the way they put it, and they said doing life autistically, right? And like when I start doing things my way, the way that helps me and makes me able to get through it, but sometimes it's a little weird or it's quirky or it's just different, right? um it's hard because I've spent so much of my life masking and doing it the way everybody else told me to do it, even though I could tell it wasn't working for me. Um, that people had that expectation, and so people get really uncomfortable, or they want to correct you and tell you to do things differently, or don't do that, that's weird, that kind of stuff. And so I really had to like be my own friend through it all because I had to be able to be away from those people or situations where even if they weren't saying it, I'd been coached my whole life on how to behave. So I already knew they were thinking it, because I know that that's what they've told me. And so when I do things, I can feel that they're uncomfortable with it. And maybe that's me projecting. Maybe they're not as uncomfortable with it as it seems like, but it makes it so I can't be myself, right? And so I had to be able to have a place where I could really be myself, and it seemed like the only place I could really do that was with just me and, well, and my son too, but he's also autistic. But so anyway, but it really was like I had to start with just taking like even this mirror box thing that I made, right? I had no idea what I was doing when I made it. I didn't have a plan. I didn't like look up how to make a mirror box. I just had some mirrors um and I was playing around with some dance stuff, and I was like, I wonder, because I always used to play with that infinite mirror thing, when you had those fold out like the medicine cabinets, and you kind of like get the right angle and you can see like a infinity of yourself, looking in the mirror. And I was like, I wonder. And so I just built this thing randomly. But before I was kind of going through the unmasking process, I probably wouldn't have. I probably would have thought it was weird, because I was thinking about like what other people would think. And because sometimes the things that we do are things that we talk about, and that's part of what, and so I knew I couldn't talk about things with people, and so it just kind of seemed like, well, that's a weird thing to do. And then when I started doing things just for me, like what do I want to do? Like how do I want to use this thing or this time, or what am I interested in? And that's when I started to be able to pull off the mask a little bit. And it wasn't until I was really able to start unmasking and see a little bit more who I really am that I started to really like myself. Like, I had spent most of my life feeling like a burden and a problem, and like, why don't I fit, and why is it that everything I do is weird and wrong, and why am I blah blah blah, all that stuff. And so I was constantly killing my confidence, because our culture, and I think a lot of cultures, really value people who are able to fit inside the box, who are able to be like they're supposed to, and when you don't, you really do, like, it's like a chronic system, like, where you're constantly being told not to do it this way, don't do that, don't, like, that's weird, don't, or people just laugh, or people get awkward around you, or people like make you look stupid or whatever, because I'm pretty intelligent, but like, I can do some really dumb things in a moment, and it can make people define me as stupid, but it's not. I'm just wired differently. And so like, I can get super into a deep project and a deep thing, and like make a thing that's like honestly very impressive, right? And then I get to the last steps and I realize that I've done something super stupid, like forget to account for gravity. Like, it's super obvious, right? But because I was so excited about my idea, I didn't realize it until the end, and so people would think, well, you're dumb, you're stupid. No, I'm just wired differently, and I was focused on this part. I'm not a results-based person, I'm a process-based person, and I get excited in the process of things, right? And anyway, and so for me, it was just really finding that place and that time to step out and like to just do the stuff that came to mind, that I would be interested, and I'd have a thought, and then as soon as I heard a thought, I was like, no, that's weird, or that's not appropriate, or that's gonna damage the property, like, or whatever, like the item, like that'll break the mirror or whatever. Well, you know what, whatever, I'm gonna make it anyway, like, I started learning to, when I heard that voice, like, to stop and be like, no, that's not a reason to not do this, that's not a reason to not do what I'm thinking about. Let myself have these ideas, and let's follow some of them through and see what happens. And I honestly feel like if that had been what I had been exposed to instead of, the school system, I probably would have found my niche in life and been a lot more successful, because that is how I learn. Like, experimentation and like figuring things out for myself, that's how I learn. Because when people explain things to me, I spend so much time trying to understand the way they think, so that I can understand what the heck they're telling me, because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to me because it's not the way that I think. And so I have to do all this, like, and so in the school systems, I'm spending so much more time just trying to adapt to this type of thinking that's completely backward from mine. And just in order to try and grasp a concept, that the way that they're teaching it to me doesn't help me grasp a concept. But if you give me like a few minutes by myself with some stuff, I can probably figure out the concept, anyways. So all that to say, it was just about like having that time to trust myself, and then like learning to like myself, like learning to like the weird, and lean into it, and defending myself from those people and places that don't embrace that make me feel like I have to go back into the masking mode, because masking is exhausting, and masking is depressing. It's extremely depressing. It's like that whole feeling of, I have to keep this image on, because if I let it slip, all these people that I think are my friends, or that I like and that I want to be friends with, they won't like me anymore. So what is that really saying? They don't like me, period. I have to fake who I am to be around these people. That's depressing. And even if it's not conscious, there's something in you that knows, like, I'm not liked. And so that's why I have to do all of these things. I'm not liked in these places. That's why before I go anywhere, I have to like plan and have things like, okay, people are talking, I'll talk about these things, I'll talk about that, like have all these things. If we go someplace, I have to look up, like if we go to a restaurant, I have to look up the menu first, and kind of, so that I'm not put in an awkward position, because there's only certain things that I eat, and I'm, blah, 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 blah. And I don't want everybody to like, notice how weird I am. And so like I have to do so much work ahead of time for things. And it's just like, because I have to hide myself from everybody. I have to not be me around people. And that's messed up. That's abusive to myself, you know? And so for me, learning to unmask, embrace myself, even if it's just me embracing it, you know? And thankfully I do have some good people in my life that do embrace it, but like, it's like, even if it's just me, it's okay. Because there are some things that other people in my life just aren't going to get, you know, and that's fine. And I just, yeah, learning to be my own friend. So that's my little random reflection. And I'll stop it here because I could play with my mirrors like this for like heck of days.